Hello, hello. Got it this okay. Awesome. Hello, 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 Tiffany. I am waiting for it to go live on Facebook, and then we're going to get started. There we are. We are there. Okay, great. Okay, we are on here. Very good. Now, all right, so let's get started, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to those who are live right now with me and those who will come onto the replay for this workshop. All right, so let's dive into it. I am going to set a timer because I said this workshop will be 30 minutes. And so we're going to ensure that we wrap up in 30 minutes. But that's going to be my workshop part. But then we will have time for Q&A. Okay, but just know that those who are members of my association for our monthly AUCHU virtual mastermind meeting, we will actually talk and dive into this subject a lot more deeper. So I'm setting my timer, 30 minutes, and I'm going to share my screen and we're going to dive into it, okay? The time. So here we go. Let's share my screen. All right, so let me get to my actual presentation. Okay, present. Here we are. All right, timer is set and we're about to start this show. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You can't hear anything. All right, let's see what we need to do for that. Can no one hear at all? If you cannot hear, please let me know. Can you hear me now? Are you able to hear now? If so, can you type it? Got it. Okay, so you can hear. Tiffany, you can hear, and Bree, you can hear. Can you all hear me? I need to know that. Give me a shout out in the chat box if you can hear. And then we get started. Let me stop my timer because I definitely want my whole 30 minutes. Just let me know you all if you all can hear me. That would be great. Yes, you can hear. Great. All right, let's go. Okay, so welcome everyone to this workshop on how to create your own homeschool curriculum and how to choose your own curriculum, okay? So this is a 30-minute process and I need to get my notes up on my phone. It's a lot of moving parts, but we can get this done. Let me get my notes. There we go. Okay. All right, so welcome again to all of you who are here live and those who are joining by replay. At the end, I would love to have your feedback. For all of you who are members of AUCHU, we will dive into this topic a lot more on our next week, I believe it is our, if you all can mute yourself too as you come in. Next week at our monthly homeschool virtual mastermind meeting, we will dive deeper into this conversation as well. So you can come with your questions at that point, okay? So let's begin. How to create your own curriculum and how to choose your homeschool curriculum. All right. Okay, how do I change my slide? I need to know how to do that. There we go. All right, so here is the workshop outline. So first, introduction and objectives. Number 2, understanding homeschool curriculum basics and why it's important. Number 3, exploring different types of curriculum models and learners, different types of learners. Number 4, we'll talk about steps to create a custom homeschool curriculum. I'm going to take you step by step. Number 5, choosing a pre-made curriculum. What exactly to look for. Number 6, we'll actually do a practical, okay? A simple practical. It's going to be focused on how to bake a cake. So we're going to create a curriculum on that topic, how to bake a cake. I wanted to do something very, very simple. And then lastly would be Q&A. Okay, so first of all, here's an introduction. Who am I? So I am Angela. Look, I'm looking at my notes. I know who I am. I am Angela Fafali Nyarko. I am the homeschool mom of 8 beautiful children, which you see on this screen. 4, the older ones here, have graduated from homeschool. These are the ones on your right of your screen. These 4 have graduated. The one to the left is my oldest. She'll be 27 this month. Tomorrow. And then my second oldest is my son, Jordan. My oldest is Annika, Jordan. My third oldest is Norlani. She's at the top of this screen here over in the blue section. My fourth oldest is Tekoa. She's the baby now. She's graduated from homeschool for 2 years. So they all graduated out of homeschool. Those are my children I birthed. Now, my younger 4 are my 4 that I adopted when they were little. So now they're huge. But we have Mario, he is 16. Then we have the twins, Ephraim and Tirza, here in this yellow section. They are 14, and then Benjamin is 12, okay? So I've been homeschooling since the year 2000, that's 23 years, and I am the owner and director of this Option 3 Accountability Association, which is AUCHU for short, which stands for A United Community of Homeschoolers Unlimited. This year, I celebrate 10 years of serving South Carolina families and providing legal status for those families in the state of South Carolina. I have members all over the state, although I'm located in Malden. Okay, so that's a little bit who I am. My purpose-driven life is to make a positive impact on thousands of homeschoolers worldwide. And I start that journey in South Carolina and literally have reached all over the world with my different podcasts and YouTube channels and my own presence. So you can learn more about that if you go to my website, which is www.auchu.org. Okay. All right. So here's the objective. The objective of this workshop is to provide homeschooling parents with knowledge, tools, and resources to develop and select their own homeschool curriculum effective. I get a lot of questions about basically how to choose your curriculum, but you know, it's a beautiful thing if you also know how to create your curriculum. Especially for those who may be considering homeschooling or have little ones. I mean, just across the board, if you have something on your heart that you feel like your child should know before they're done homeschooling and it's not on the market or easily accessible, then guess what? You can create what it is that you need, okay? And so I want to show you how to do that. All right, so let's jump into the next section. Understanding homeschool curriculum basics and why it's important. So that's where we're headed to. Let me get to my notes. Understanding homeschool curriculum and curriculum basics and why that's important. Okay, so first of all, what is homeschool curriculum? And I have my notes because I want to honor the time and not go off on a tangent, so it keeps me focused. What exactly is homeschool curriculum when we say that? It's essentially a comprehensive roadmap for your child's education at home. Simple, an educational roadmap. We're going to go from here, here, and here, here. It details what your child will learn, the methods used for teaching and learning, and the pace of study. That's all a homeschool curriculum is. So why is that important? Well, it provides structure and continuity in education, ensuring all important topics are covered. But what truly makes homeschooling stand out is its flexibility, okay? So again, in this, I'm going to show you how you can be flexible in your own curriculum that you create or even in the curriculum that you purchase. So it allows us to adjust our children's education to their individual learning styles, their own interests at their pace, rather than forcing them to adapt to rigid one-size-fits-all systems, okay? So this is the beauty of homeschooling, okay? And again, the beauty of being able to create your own curriculum. All right, next, let's go into step 3, exploring different types of curriculum models and learners. I will not dive into these deeply, but I want you all to have an idea of these different types of curriculums and the models, and then what type of learners there are, okay? So number 3, the different types of curriculum models and learning styles. Let's talk about the models. First of all, these are just some of the different curriculum models. You have just your traditional curriculum, what you would find in school, a book full of information, and you go through it for the whole entire year. Then you have the Montessori method. I won't go into details, but if you're taking notes, you can take screenshots of the screen, you can take notes, and then you can dive in deeper on these subjects, okay? So traditional, then you have the Montessori method, then you have unit studies. This is kind of what I want to focus on, unit studies and the unschooling, because creating your own curriculum lends itself beautifully to the unschooling method. Classical method, eclectic method. These are your different curriculum models or, you know, learning teaching styles, okay? But we're going to focus on a simple unit study, how to take one subject and then create a whole curriculum for it. That's basically what's done in all curriculums, really. All right, here are your learning styles of your children to be aware of, okay? I didn't know this information when I first started homeschooling. I kind of just noticed it and then realized, oh, there's styles of learning I didn't know about. 1, visual learners, students who learn best by seeing. They see it, they get it. Then you have your auditory learners. Those, once they hear it, then they got it. They need to hear it. Then you have students who are reading and writing learners. If they can write what is being said or what they've learned, they hold on to it. Number 4 is your kinesthetic learners. If they can touch it, if they can manipulate it, if they can do something with it with their hands, then they got it. And then you have some students, oops, let me go back. Then you have some students who are all of them. I knew my learning style when I was in college, when I was in high school, starting at that point. And many of you probably can attest to this if you ever learned how it is that you learn. If I saw it, if I heard it, and if I wrote it, I would remember it forever until, you know, maybe you get 50, you have to revisit that stuff. But in school, if I did those 3 things in any of my classes, I learned it, instilled it in my brain, okay? So identifying your student makes a difference. If they're visual learners, like my son, my second oldest that you saw in the picture, the fact that he was a visual learner meant that I gave him a lot of things that involved computer or video on, you know, on something like that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna brush up.
So let me make sure we are all muted. Okay. And so I knew he was a visual learner. He's a visual learner. My other daughter, my number 3 daughter, she is a writer. She has notes writer. So you just understanding what type of learner is your student will help you to know how to create the curriculum that works for them. Okay. All right, let's start. Go ahead into step 4. And we're great on time. Okay, so steps to create a custom homeschool curriculum. Let's talk about that. I literally thought about what I do when I want my students, my children to learn a specific something that I don't want to buy a book for or what have you. So here are the steps. Number 1, what's their learning style? Just first of all, know what their learning style is, so then you can know, do we need to find a lot of videos for this subject? Do we need to be doing a lot of hands-on? Do it need to be in a position where they're taking notes? What type of learner do I have? If that's not going to be so important to you because you're going to teach this subject to many students, then you may not focus so much on one specific type of learning. Maybe you're include many of the various types of learning styles I just mentioned. Number 2, establish clear educational goals and objectives. What is it that you want to learn? Or achieve, that's the word. What is it that you want to achieve from this curriculum that you are going to be creating? What's the point? Okay, so come up with that goal. What's the goal? And I'm going to break this down in just a moment. Number 3, choose the subjects and topics to cover. Again, you can take pictures of this if you're taking notes. That's great. Welcome to all of you who are just joining on Facebook and just coming into the live here on Zoom. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Number 3, so choose the subjects and topics to cover. This will make sense once we go through our practicum. We're going to actually do a practical. Number 4, what is the duration? How long will this course be? Do you just want to go with it and wing it as you go? Or do you want this to cover about 3 months of study, or 6 months, or a year, 6 weeks? What's your duration? And you may not know that initially, but if you do say, hey, I want to cover this for 3 months, then you would know how to break down the information by day or by week. Then you know, oh, we need to focus on this 5 days a week. Okay, so we'll break it down in just a moment. Choose your resources to be used. Will you gather this knowledge, this information of creating this curriculum from Googling, from the library, from your own knowledge? Maybe you have an expertise in a specific thing that you want to teach them. You know, you're going to use your own knowledge and resources, and you're going to create it. Sometimes curriculum that you want to create for your student is just as simple as you tapping into your own knowledge base and creating it from there. And number 6, make sure it's thorough with no holes, okay? And we'll talk about that in a moment as we go through our practicum. So these are the steps in which you would start creating your own homeschool curriculum. Let me see, it was one of these points that I said, what's your learning style? Establish clear educational goals and objectives. This is where I want to say number 2, start with the end in mind. That's how you choose the goal or objective. Start with the end in mind. If you want them to be able to, and our practicum is about baking a cake, that's the goal in mind. So what's the end result? We're going to have this cake and we're going to have it icing and we're going to be selling it. That's the end goal. Then you build upon that backwards. Okay, that's basically what you're going to do. So let's keep going and we will jump into our practical in just a little bit. So here we are on point number 5, choosing a pre-made curriculum, what to look for. I tell you, lots of families, they just say, Angela, where do I start and what curriculum and how do I know which one I want to utilize? Well, of course, when I get started, a fly wants to come and be part of the show of this workshop. All right, so choosing a pre-made curriculum, what exactly do you look for? All right, let's break that down. Number 1, when you're looking for curriculum, make sure that that curriculum aligns with your educational philosophy and religious beliefs, if those things are important to you. Every curriculum is not created equal. And for example, when I say your educational philosophy or religious beliefs, if for science, if a Christian background or biblical background, creationism is the focus for your family and that's important to you, then make sure you come with the science that has that, okay? Because you can also have sciences that does not focus on a religious base It comes from scientific evidence or scientific based knowledge, okay? Educational philosophy. If your education philosophy is not about a lot of teaching and a lot of repetitive stuff and all of this, then you want to make sure that curriculum doesn't have that, okay? Next, aligned with your child's learning style. If your child is a visual learner, then you want to choose that curriculum that would allow them to have to see things visually, be on video, or something of that nature, be online, etc. Okay. Does it offer a comprehensive scope and sequence that covers all the necessary areas? So that goes back to where I was saying before, if you create your own, you want to make sure there's no holes. So if you're going to choose a curriculum and you flip through it and you say, this leaves out a whole part of, I don't know, whatever the subject is, it leaves out a whole part. I don't want this curriculum. Again, remember that all curriculum is not created equal, okay? It really is not. So you have to do your due diligence or ask others, that type of thing, which is a part in the last point here. Next is it flexible and adaptable to your child's needs and pace? Are you able to take that curriculum that you're considering and utilize it to how you want to use it in your homeschooling, okay? Is it flexible or is it rigid? Some books, some curriculum are very rigid. You do this step and you got to do this next step and you have to do this and you follow. And it tells you, you have to get this done on this time frame. By next week, you should be here and next week you should be there. And the student should now get a test. If it's too rigid, too much for you, don't utilize it, okay? Just don't utilize it. Next, what is the cost and is it within your budget? Okay, if it's too expensive, just know there's other options out there. You don't have to go with a particular curriculum because it was mentioned to you, but the cost is too much. And that's the same thing if you're choosing something online. There's a lot of free resources, okay? So, but at any time, any of AUCHU's members, I have a whole list of different curriculums that you can create to go through, and online courses you can consider that are free or what have you. And then the last part, consider reviews and feedback from other homeschooling parents, okay? Before you buy and spend $1,000-something on just one curriculum, ask around and see what others have to say about that curriculum. Was it worth the money or was it too much? Was it overkill? Some books are very much overkill. Okay, let me see how I am in the time. All right. So that's how you basically choose your curriculum. You can just simply Google. You can go to Amazon, you can go to Walmart, Barnes and Nobles, you can barter with other families, okay? I'm looking for a math book that's not redundant, that doesn't have a bazillion math problems, just something simple to the point, black and white. My third daughter, she just did not want to see all the colors. She just wanted the basic principles, do the work, boom, done. She loved Saxon because it was black and white. She said the colors was too distracting, like Abeka. I've always used Abeka math. I think it's very thorough and it's repetitive as needed, and I would use it as needed, okay? That was too much for her, and it was just distracting. She hated that Abeka math, but she loved Saxon math. All right. Next, let's go now to our practical. Let's bake a cake curriculum, okay? We're going to create, let's bake a cake. And this is the curriculum. Here are the steps. This will help you understand how to break down, if you break down the steps for you as you were to create your own curriculum. I promise you, it's the best thing ever. If there's a specific subject you want to ensure that your child learns before they are done with their homeschooling. All right. Let's bake a cake. This is your curriculum or unit study. I'm going to say unit study because we're going to talk about this one subject. And I want you to see how just learning about baking a cake covers so many subjects. All right, first, identify the learning objective. The objective here is that I want my child to learn how to bake a lemon cake from scratch. I need to learn that too. So we're going to do that together. The one thing you have to know is do not be afraid to go down rabbit trails. You were talking about this and then, let the curiosity and the questions guide you as well, okay? All right, let me keep going or else I'm going to go ahead of myself. What type of learning is your student? Identify that. Is it going to be best to see visual? Is it better to do kinesthetic? Well, baking a cake, maybe kinesthetic, auditory, writing student, maybe all of these types of learning styles would be included in your curriculum that you create, okay? So what's the goal? Learn how to bake a cake from scratch. And the subjects we're going to focus on in here, I want them to know the entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about how to turn this into a business. Specifically, this is a great subject, let's bake a cake, if the student is into baking. And they say, Mom, I really want to know how to bake a cake. Okay, great. Let's learn how to bake a cake. And we're going to talk about how to make that into a business. We're going to talk about math of that, science that's involved in baking the cake, the social studies part of baking the cake, and then it's covering home ec. These are all the subjects that we're going to focus on in this one curriculum or one study, and it's all about baking the cake. Do you see? This is also how unschooling can look. You take one subject and you investigate it with all the subjects. How long do you want this to last? I just put up here a 6-month unit study. Okay, 6-month unit study. What resources will you use to create this study? I am going to use some videos on YouTube. I am going to use a few books. I'm going to Google some things. I'm going to use library. I'm going to talk to my auntie. And then we're going to go and visit a actual bake shop. So we're going to use different resources. Make sure it's thorough with no holes. Remember, this was the next point that I showed you in how to create your curriculum. Make sure it's thorough with no holes. Here's the science. Let's see all these subjects come alive in this one thing. Let's talk about who created the cake. Who invented that? Who did it? Okay, that's part of now social studies because that's history. Where did the cake first come from? Again, that's part of social studies. We're going to investigate and we're going to research that. Or maybe you already had that information and you're tell it to the child. Just depending on the child's age or grade, depends on how much information you already have for them or how much information you all will research together or what you may require them to research. If they're old enough, you're saying, okay, find out who was the first one to create the cake and where was it from? How is flour made? Well, we know now after these things, I'm jumping around, I'm not giving it totally detailed, but we have to know what elements or ingredients are part of making a cake from scratch. Well, we got eggs, we got flour, we have lemon, blah, 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 a sweetener, all of those. Then you may say, well, how was flour made? That might be a question the student asks. Constantly asking them, what questions do you have? Don't take it for granted that they know even what flour is. Let's investigate flour and where it came from. Great. Maybe now you'll pull up some YouTube videos and look at how do you make flour. Maybe now you go and discover the different types of flours there are. There's many. You got soft, and then you got hard, and you got the in-between, and then you got all these different flours. And understanding those different flours would be part of understanding this unit study. Understanding if you don't use eggs, what can you substitute for eggs? I'm vegan, so I don't use eggs, but I know I can substitute eggs with applesauce. So I'm sorry, not applesauce. Apple cider vinegar and a mixture of my vanilla with my non-vegan cream or milk will be the perfect match for my eggs. You're talking about fluffy, it'll come out fluffy if you don't use eggs, but use those 3 things I just mentioned. All right, then what are the various types of oils? If you don't want to use an oil, you can substitute it for applesauce. Well, I have a typo here. What is oil needed for when making the cake? Okay, let's talk about that. Let's discover, why is oil even necessary? What are the healing properties of lemon? Now we have to use lemon. Can we use lemon oil? Can we use fresh lemon? And what's the healing properties of that? You know, what's the benefit or healing properties, if any, in flour? Now, this would take us into science. It also can take us into home economics, another typo there, home economics, but it should be home economics. And then what state makes the most lemons? Okay, that's, now we can jump into social studies. Where in the world has the most quantity of lemons? How much does lemons cost? You see, you can dive so much, you can go on the rabbit trail that baking the cake can literally take you 6 months to learn, because you chose to study that one subject, that one topic, and cover all the subjects. Math, then you get into measurements, and if you have a whole and a whole, I mean a half and a half, what does that equal? Or if you need a quarter and a quarter, what is, okay, you see, you get into that. And timing, they don't know how to tell time. Okay, this is the perfect time to jump in there. Let's learn telling time, so then you can understand what 30 minutes looks like. You see, it's a whole subject, and you can call it unschooling, but definitely a unit study. How can we sell the product? Now we're getting into entrepreneurship. How much money can we make? More of now business math, okay? So you see, this one topic, baking a lemon cake from scratch, how it can cover all of these required subjects in option 3, homeschooling in South Carolina. And all you did, maybe you want to do this for the whole year, talk about this one subject matter. Now, as they're older in high school, you can still do this. Okay, you still can take one subject. Maybe that student is into building go-karts. Okay, my time. So, and then you break it down again, just same way. They wanted to focus on go-karts because they love go-karts. Then make the subjects that they have to cover around the subject of go-karts. Now they're writing a paper about go-karts. Now they're doing a research on go-karts. Maybe they're looking at all the components of go-karts. Maybe now technical drawing, blah, blah, blah. It goes on, and you only focus on go-karts, the history of go-karts, who created go-karts, okay? Let's move on. The last point is our Q&A. All right, so I did that whole workshop, yes, in 30 minutes exactly. I timed it. So now I want to open it up to Q&A. That's some basics right there of our focus of this topic. Okay. All right, you all please unmute yourself or type in the chat any questions. I'm going to go to Facebook and see if there's any questions going on there, but you all, let's dive in on, I give ourselves about 5 more minutes of just a few questions. But for those who are members who will see this workshop now or later, just know that, you know what, it's a bummer, but I didn't record it, but I can pull it off Facebook. I forgot to hit the record button. But anyway, those who will see this later, we will dive into this conversation more at our monthly virtual mastermind meeting. Okay, so come on, there's a timer that's about to go off. Any questions, comments, clarifications needed? I'm going to Facebook. You can unmute yourself or you can type it in chat.
Angela, I did want to know something. I haven't had the chance to look at your actual curriculum that you build. What type of curriculum would you categorize yours as? Because I was kind of leaning towards your curriculum for my two.
You mean what I use personally at home in curriculum?
The curriculum you mentioned in the last meeting that we had about you posting it on Amazon and everything.
The digital library. Okay, so yes. The digital library, the digital library that is coming. Okay, so I have it listed. It'd be easier just to go to the website. auchu.org. Okay, and then scroll down and you'll see something that says digital library. Click on that link and you'll see a list of all the courses that's going to be coming. Okay, I will not do them all like boom, magically they're all there, but over time you'll see them pop up. So you want to keep going back and seeing what's available, and if it's say available now. And at that point, you'll see either if it's going to be free for all the members or it's going to be a small course because of all the details around it. But the digital library on the website is where you would go. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think it's maybe, I don't know, 20, somewhere around 20 to 25, I believe, something like that will be up there. And these are all courses that that's just not in the homeschool community at large. Things that I wanted my kids to know, or I just felt like it was a deficit. So, yeah. Any more questions or comments? Let me see. Oops. Let me see. Someone put a question up here. Any other, you can unmute yourself or you can type it in chat if you have some questions or want clarifications. Let me see this person's comment. Okay, I got it. Tisha just said yes. Okay, any other questions? About 5 more minutes. I mean, no, about 2 more minutes, and then we'll be done with Q&A, and then you all can pull this up later. Any questions or comments or any clarifications needed? From those who are live and those who are viewing on Facebook. All right, well, let me tell you all the details here. You can go to the website at auchu.org, and there you'll find a plethora of information. You'll find this workshop recording so that you can get to it. And then, like I mentioned before, you'll see the digital library. If you're not already a member with AUCHU or AUCHU, then you can also register right there. But all of you who are current members, go check it out. You know, there's blogs there where I post encouragement just online courses, links that you need to get to, report card, transcript, application, all those things on the website. Okay, and then if you have questions later, as you walk through this process of creating your own curriculum or choosing your curriculum, you can always email me or text. That information is there. Again, I'm Angela Fafali Nyarko. I'm the owner director of AUCHU. Okay, and I have been for 10 years. And so it is my delight to serve you and offer this to you. Next month, we have another topic. Each month, I already have the outline of the topics that we'll discuss from month to month, okay? All the best. Now, if you create your own curriculum, let me know what you did and how well it goes. The one thing I want to say is don't be afraid to go on rabbit trails, you know, on here, and then you all go here because of a question. If you follow that freedom, rabbit trails, then you are sure to help develop the love of learning and create that love of learning. Okay, your child will be inquisitive and they'll want to know why use an egg, or where did the egg come from, or how does a chicken make the egg. It went to a whole nother turn just from baking a cake. Okay, so be free and flexible, like I said before, and then I will be done. Just remember that when you create your own curriculum, you may not have a clear set pace of where you're headed, because now you were going here, but it took you here, and then you were going here and it took you here. And maybe they wanted to, today, we're not going to do any specific studies. We're going to do art. Let's draw different types of cakes. Let's create what we want our cake to look like. Let's design this cake. Okay, and all the things that we're going to end up having at the end once we're done all the teaching. You can go as deep as you want or keep it as basic as you want, depending on your duration. Okay, all right, very good. thank you all for coming and showing up. I will send this recording out sometime, hopefully in the next few days, to all the members. And then those of you who are watching it from Facebook, thanks for showing up, and you are free to share this recording. All right, peace and many blessings to all of you all. Take care. Bye.